Good morning. Happy Tuesday to you. It's 10 o'clock. I'm Tim Harris. It's time for 10 with Tim. We go verse by verse every day, Monday through Friday. We're going through the Word of God together. We're in the book of Numbers, chapter 21 today. Almost finished with the book of Numbers. We'll be finishing up pretty soon. We'll talk about what comes next. What comes next is we're going to finish reading the Bible together by the end of this year. So I'm pretty excited about that. Actually, probably late in the summer, early fall, we'll be done. It's going to be happy, sad, a great accomplishment that we've done this together. Also really sad that it's over because honestly, I love this time in the Word and I love this time with you. Thank you so much for your friendship, your partnership in the Word. It means more to me than I can ever explain. I love you. Thank you so much for being with me. Numbers chapter 21, just verses 1 through 9 today. It starts with victory and quickly ends in defeat. My goodness. I could really just bag on the Israelites for being so much like the Israelites, except that I'm so much like the Israelites. I mean, they're just like the rest of us, right? But it's easy to stand back and talk about how fickle and ignorant they are. In the beginning of the chapter, the Canaanite king of Arad, he lives in the Negev. He launches a war against them, takes hostages. I mean, it's just a brutal kind of sneak attack. And so the Israelites pray to the Lord, and the Lord gives them victory, complete victory, and they totally destroy Arad, and they name the place Hormah, which means destruction. So, wow, go Israelites, way to go. That's 3 verses in. By the time we get to verse 4, they're back to their old stuff. And this time, it's one of those complaining, verses 4 through 9, it's one of those complaining episodes, which are common in the book of Numbers and in the Old Testament in this wilderness time. It's common for them to complain. But this one is different because they're not just murmuring against Moses. In this case, they take it straight to God. I mean, they're complaining right to God's face, which doesn't go over well. Verse 4 is where it says the New Living Translation says they grew impatient. They lost patience. The Hebrew there actually says they were short of soul. The Israelites grew short of soul, S-O-U-L. I think that's so interesting. The soul, of course, is that God breathed part of us, the part of us that relates to God, the part of us that is most like God, our connecting point with the Almighty. And this is exactly the capacity which they have now grown short in. They are short of soul. I think that's, impatience, one way to say it, but I think that phraseology, the shortness of soul, I think that's important because it's, patience is a fruit of the Spirit. I'm not saying it's not a spiritual capacity, but they're more than a quart low in something much more vital and essential than just patience here. This isn't a momentary character lapse. This is a genuine crisis of inwardness, a crisis of soul. They've lost soul, and so they begin to speak out against God and Moses, but against not just your typical murmuring against Moses here. It is a complaint against God. I think I've said over and over with you all that all complaining is against God. Anytime you're complaining about your situation, basically you are saying, God, I don't like the way you're taking care of me. I don't trust you to take care of me. And so it's truly a blasphemous contempt for God. On top of that, it's so contradictory. They say there's nothing to eat here, and besides, we hate this miserable food. Well, you can't say it both. You can't say there's nothing to eat, and also we hate this terrible food. The manna, as we've said, is a miracle from God. And the first time it fell from heaven, they're like, oh my goodness, God is so good. What is this? The word manna means, what is this? And so they name it, what is this? It's the joyful, playful, glad exclamation of someone who's surprised by God every single morning. God is so good. He's good again today. But then the manna just kept falling, and eventually you get tired of it. Eventually you take it for granted, and then eventually you're complaining, I hate this terrible food, Oh my goodness, that's just like us. Someone once said that if the stars only came out once a year, we'd stay up all night just to look at them, But the fact that they come out every night, we just begin to ignore their beauty and think nothing of them. And when's the last time you laid on your back in the middle of the yard and just looked up at the stars? They're wondrous, they're beautiful, they're miraculous, but yeah, they're there every night. You know what I'm saying? And so since God provides beautifully, magically, wonderfully every single day, they're like, yeah, but we're tired of this. There's nothing to eat. And besides, we don't like the food. Come on. So anyway, the consequences here are brutal and devastating. The Lord sends poisonous snakes among the people, and they're being bitten and they're dying. That's brutal. Yeah, that's brutal. Why does God respond so harshly? I mean, this is for some of you, it's like your worst nightmare. That you're just walking, ankle deep in snakes and they're biting you and you're dying. What is this about? Well, remember the covenant. The covenant has terms, and the Lord said, "I'm setting before you, life and death. I'm setting before you blessing and curse." And most of us tend to think the covenant is good as long as we are receiving only the blessing. But what happens when we break the covenant and we receive the curse? Well, the covenant it holds. In order for the blessing to be real, the curse must be real, And so there must be discipline, there must be consequences for this kind of blasphemy, this kind of in God's face, saying this miserable food, there has to be some consequence for that. I think even as children, as much as we don't like to be disciplined, I think that children gain a great amount of confidence and security in knowing that the limits are there, And maybe sometimes we test the boundaries, and maybe we test the boundaries because we need to know that they're there, that there is somebody who is watching over me and is not going to let me step out of boundaries. There's safety and security in that, especially when the one setting your defining the margins is your loving Father who only cares for you and his only desire is to bless you, But if you step outside the zone of his blessing and grace and obedience, then you are going to find yourself, in the consequences of the curse, And so the snakes are here, and so now the people are repentant. We sinned by speaking out against the Lord. We should have never done that. Now pray, Moses, pray. Pray the snakes away. Pray that God will take away the snakes. This is basically all my prayers. All my prayers are basically prayers that God will take away the snakes. Are they not? Like right now, I got plantar fasciitis, and I'm complaining to God every day. Lord, would you just take this plantar fasciitis? I got a snake biting the heel of my foot every step. God, will you just take this away? I mean, my prayers are mostly, Lord, just take away the snakes. Notice that God answers once more the need of the people in a beautiful way, but he doesn't give them what they ask for. He does not take away the snakes. Often I pray, God, take away the snakes, and God does not take away the snakes. What God does here is God creates a way for the people to live among the snakes without getting killed, So often I just want God to take away the snakes, but what God does is give me the ability to keep my eyes on him and live among the snakes, There's grace and there's beauty in that. And again, as long as they keep their eyes on him, Moses is to make a replica. He makes a poisonous snake out of bronze and puts it on a pole. I woke up thinking about this morning, you all. And again, I'm an artist, so I know something about making things. But I just thought, if God told me, like, okay, today your job is going to be to make a bronze snake and put it on a pole, like, could you do that? I mean, could you do that? But Moses, this is his job. Now I'm an artist. Now I'm a sculptor. Now I got to make a bronze snake, put it on a pole. But that is Moses' job today, and this is what he does. And so they lift that serpent on the pole up high, and if you look at the serpent, you live. If you look at the serpent, you live. In the book of John, Jesus makes an analogy about himself. He says, just like, Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, if I be lifted up, I'll draw all men to myself. Jesus uses that an analogy there of looking to the cross, which is itself an instrument of death. The cross itself is an instrument of the curse. Cursed is anyone who hangs upon a tree, the Old Testament says. So the cross itself is an instrument of death. But when you look upon that instrument of death, you will be saved to life. So Jesus uses that analogy. The snake itself is what's killing them. But if you look at this instrument of death, you will yourself receive life. So it's a great picture of the cross. It's not an idol, but it becomes an idol. You know this, right? Tell you what, I'm not going to tell you there's a name for it. I think it's in 2 Kings. The people keep this because, hey, this is our lucky snake. And then before long, they're worshiping and it becomes an idol with a name. So go back and look. That's your job. Homework. Find the name of the god, the snake on the pole, and put it in the comments. All right, just to show that you did the homework. Find the name of the god and put it in the comments. Okay, it's in 2 Kings. I think it's 2 Kings. Am I going to help you this much? 2 Kings. I think it's 2 Kings chapter 18. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, you can put that in the comments too. All right. But again, obviously here it's not an idol. You're looking past the serpent on the pole toward the God who heals and protects. But eventually, again, they forget God and they're just looking at the serpent and worshiping this God, false God. And there are consequences for that as well. Anyway, that's the first 9 verses. I love that. We'll pick up here tomorrow. We'll do chapter 21, 10 through 35 for tomorrow. And then we get to chapter 22, which is Balaam and his animal. And I love that story so much. I can't wait to get there with you. So finish chapter 21 tomorrow so we can get right to chapter 22, all right? I love you guys so much. I tell you, I know y'all don't like it, but I love this summer. I love this heat. I sat out on my porch yesterday just to sweat. I love it. I will not complain about the heat because I hate to be cold. Anyway, love you guys so much. I'll see you in the morning, Lord willing, 10 o'clock for 10 with Tim. Have a great Tuesday.